Good afternoon. Just to recap, since Saturday, Sunday was a required day off, so it's nice when those days off falls on Sunday, and there's no class, and we can kind of take a minute to reset and get our minds fresh before we go into prep for the following opponent. So we took Sunday off. Yesterday we started prep for a very good Cincinnati team, but we're excited to have a 2-game home stretch and be back on our home floor with our fans behind us. So we're excited to see Mountaineer Nation and hope we continue to have that support that we've got so far up to this point, and excited to have those people backing us in the Coliseum tomorrow night.
Josh, the prognosis for Jesse, obviously got to play. Do you see that he progresses over time? Do you think it's just something he's got to battle all season? Or where do you think he gets to?
He had an appointment yesterday which went really, really well, and I think for him, more than anything, it's going to give him some peace of mind and some confidence moving forward that, there is going to be a little bit of pain that he's probably going to have to, play through, but that's, very common for this injury. So I think that'll, and even looking back at yesterday's practice, I think he played with less hesitation than he's played with to this point. So I think anybody that watched that game on Saturday probably saw that Jesse was, favoring that wrist in a lot of ways, and maybe people might think that, it was rushed to get him out there. But, that was totally up to him in terms of, he gave me the go-ahead on Saturday morning and says, I'm ready, I want to try this. So at the moment we thought we needed him, we threw him out there to see what happens.
That wrap, you think, going forward, because that seemed to affect his shot a little bit?
I think that the way I think it's supposed to work out is that earlier with his rehab, the wrap would be a lot tighter, early, and as we progress, each and every day and move forward with it, it'll probably just loosen that up as we go, but there certainly has to be some type of protective measure for him moving forward.
Pressing a little bit, and is he dealing with teams trying to take him away and game planning?
Yeah, and I think we're going to find out with Raekwon, and I keep on having the conversations with him, and some games he can be such an amazing player for you, and then other games, if he forces some action, sometimes it's really it can hurt the team. But he by no means wants to hurt the team in any way, and he's trying to figure out what that niche is that he can bring to the table and be effective as a scorer, as a defender, whatever that may be. So we're having a lot of conversations in that regard, and his mindset's right where you want it to be in terms of growth and learning and trying to fit into what we got going on and be an effective member of the program. So I'm pleased with his mindset, and tomorrow, with a home crowd, he's done really well at home. So I'm excited to see him in action tomorrow.
What Cincinnati bring to the table? I know they got size and kind of a United Nations type roster.
Yeah, they got it's one of those teams they play really, really physical. We've talked about that over the past with some of these teams that we've struggled with, between UMass and Houston and Central Florida. I mean, they're right up there with those type of teams in terms of their physicality. So we're going to have to match that physicality. We can't back down by any means. We can't play on our heels. They're a very, very good offensive rebounding team, and that's something that we're going to have to, shore up. And we understand that's been a struggle, to this point. So hopefully inserting Jesse into the lineup and getting him more comfortable should help us shore some of those defensive rebounding issues that we've had. But if you look back to the game against Oklahoma State, the first play of, on defensive end, we gave up an offensive rebound, and it ended up being a made three-point shot. And down the stretch, when we were trying to, make winning plays to win the game, they made those winning plays. They got that offensive rebound, they kick out and made that shot. And I have a lot of those conversations with our guys when comparing game to game. If you look back at our Kansas game and how we were so effective down the stretch, we were the team making those winning plays. Raekwon got a really hard rebound. Pat got a really hard rebound, kicked it out to Raekwon for a three. That's the same thing that was happening to us in Stillwater down the stretch, and we just weren't making those winning plays down the stretch.
Make sure you are making those winning plays game to game.
Yeah, I mean, you hope you have the, on the road, it's certainly more of a challenge. At home, you feel the energy behind you, so you probably get that extra effort at home. But it's something we talk about every day. We haven't won away from home, and we're not shying away from that. We understand that's where we're at. And we got to find a way to get that in our head that every single possession matters. I say it all the time with our guys. It's a game of inches in the end in so many of these games. And the difference in a game might be one effort play or one guy hitting the floor and getting you an extra possession. So it's something we just talk about and continue to learn and strive for growth each and every day.
Coach, you've talked a lot about Kerr and Jesse pick and roll, and that's how they kind of work together. With Raekwon, how do you get him and Jesse to feed off each other? Is that more of a challenge?
Well, it should be helpful for Raekwon. It should be helpful for all those perimeter guards in terms of, we didn't, Pat gave us an excellent 3-4 game stretch there and filled that void as our 5-man. But when teams have to key on that roll man and they got to do a lot of tagging on the backside, that's going to open up a lot of guards. Just having Jesse as a lob threat and a roll threat to the rim will create a lot of openings for a lot of guys. And not to mention, we can play a little differently that we didn't have really the ability to do so. We can play inside out. We can establish our presence inside, and they get to a point where they're more concerned about our big man getting a touch and just going to open everybody else on the floor. So it will be a more balanced approach. Now, in terms of how much we can force the issue down low with Jesse isolating them and trying to get a bucket, that might not be the case right away because how comfortable he is with the wrist at this point, and scoring or taking a jump shot is going to be a day-to-day thing. I mean, it's going to improve each and every day, but where we're at, come tomorrow, I don't know. Yeah.
And that's kind of, so obviously, the first part of the first chapter of the season, I guess, Jesse's the number one option. Then he gets injured, and Raekwon comes, so he's number one. So now when you got them both together, is there, I don't want to say conflict, but is there, I guess Jesse's got to get healthy first before you can fully answer that. But
yeah, I wouldn't say conflict. I think what the word I've been trying to get to, and probably the word I've used the most is we're going to be more balanced. You saw in the first 9 games, it was a lot of Quinn and Jesse. And as soon as you get Kerr into the fold and Raekwon into the fold, Jesse Lee, is exit with his injury. So we never got that cohesion as they played together. Now you get some spurts of it that you saw the other day, but still that's a limited amount of action so far, and Jesse wasn't 100%. So like I like to tell our guys right now, I mean, we have a lot to play for and a lot to prove. As we progress through the conference season, because now we finally have everybody. Now, is it hard to, build that chemistry, midway through the hardest conference in the country? Absolutely it is. But let's kind of flush the past right now and strive for growth each and every day and try to figure out how we maximize our potential as a team. And that's all we can do at this point.
Are there any limitations with Jesse, or is he full? You could everything?
No, I don't think there's any limitations. There's certainly limitations with his skill level of what he can do. Sure, he's not going to be, as you can see, he's not going to take that 3-point shot that he might have looked to explore early in the first few games, which that's something that he was exploring in his game anyway. So he didn't take a lot of them, but it's not like he's going to step out 15, 18 foot, and I don't think that's going to be a secret, even if an opponent's listening right now. I mean, we know he's not going to be that threat from the perimeter at this point. So, no, but the rest of his game, it shouldn't be hindered whatsoever.
16 minutes he got against Central Florida. Was that more than you expected? Or
Against Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State, I mean. Was it 16, I think?
Yeah, 15.
Was that more
15
than what
change.
you expected? Or?
I didn't know what to expect,
Okay.
to be honest with you. And if we were to a point that we felt like Pat was playing well, and I didn't feel like I needed to bring him in, it might have been 8-10. But that was something I didn't have any preconceived notions on how it was gonna fall that day. So, I basically got the word a couple hours before tip-off that, hey, I'm good. I'm comfortable, and that's where I had to get to with him, that he 100% felt comfortable with it, and everybody in the equation felt comfortable with it, because I didn't want to do anything to harm Jesse in any way.
Coach, when wins are hard to come by, especially in this league for any team. How are you measuring success with this group?
Progress. Certainly, like I said, we're just getting to the point where we're whole for the first time. So it's not going to be easy, regardless of whether we had that chemistry up to this point, and they'd all played together for however many games it's been, 20 games. So it would have been hard regardless. And here we are, finally getting everybody together. It's like the old saying, we got the band back together, right? So it's who we thought we were going to have from day one. But here we are, game 21, with all of our pieces. So to answer your question, measuring success is okay. What's our mindset right now? Are we certainly haven't given up by any means, and let's look at this 11 games we have left in the conference tournament and see. Let's maximize our potential and show what we could have been from day one. But unfortunately, we had so many challenges up to this point, and that's something we had to navigate, and that's adversity. It's like any walk of life, you have adversity, and it's no different in the game of basketball with what we've had to go through. So we don't hang our head. Let's see what we can make of the rest of the season.
Coach, I've been interested with your thoughts on how you handled Kerr, in the sense, okay, you start the game, he's on the ball, but if he starts making shots, you can take him off the ball, give the ball to Noah. But if Kerr's not making shots, he stays on the ball. Seems like there's a lot of versatile pieces there with Kerr, and it all kind of just depends on how he's doing that
Sure.
day, right? I mean, that's just something that.
No, I think it's good for everybody in the program. We have that versatility, and if Kerr's making shots, it's no secret that when somebody's making shots, I'm going back to them one way or another, and trying to drain that well if I can. So Noah is very capable to run the point. He's a real good, quick downhill guard, and I probably forced the action with him a little bit much in the second half. But that's how a lot of our success was with him in a pick and roll and a flat ball screen in the middle of the floor. I didn't have the opportunity to use Kerr late, which he was kind of my hot hand there late in the game, and with him fouling out, and it's just a lot of. You go back and look at the end of that game, and there's a lot of unfortunate incidents. I mean, they fouled Jesse as soon as he get the rebound. I don't think that was their intention by looking at the coach's reaction, but they fouled him, and it was an excellent strategy because he's 95 feet from the basket. They can stop the clock and basically turn us over if he don't make foul shots. So we had to get Jesse out of the ball game, and Kerr had fouled out there late, and trying to figure out how we get production and like I said earlier, when you look back at the film, we just are one or two winning plays or effort plays away from winning that game. Just like we were one or two away from or winning or losing the game against Kansas there in the last several minutes. So that's where we got to get to. I mean, we have to close games and find a way to not make this a habit where we're carry that on from game to game.
Josh, every team every team looks for consistency. Maybe the most consistent thing about your team is its inconsistency. It seems like a different team shows up every night. You don't know
Yeah.
who's going to do what.
Yeah.
How do you try to combat that, or is it simply because of the unfamiliarity of guys with guys?
Some of it's probably that, but I actually had those two words that I used the most leading up to the Central Florida game and the Oklahoma State game, which we had tremendous opportunity, with two road games that I felt were winnable. I used the two words. I used discipline and consistency. We got to get to a point where we're a very disciplined team and do all the right things and minimize our mistakes. In the game of basketball, there's mistakes all over the place. And the team that does the best of minimizing those mistakes usually wins. But I use those two phrases or two words heavily, one being discipline and two being consistency. And that's where we got to get to as a program. And as a leader of the program, those are things that I harp on each and every day. But, I mean, you're right when you say we've been inconsistent. We got to take that same approach that we did against Texas and Kansas, and we on the road, and take that team with us to compete, in those team games like Oklahoma State and Central Florida.
You could bottle it, huh?
Yeah, it'd be nice. That's what we're trying to do.
This is obviously a game against one of the new guys in the league. If you kind of look at it, I mean, Houston's got a chance to win the whole thing. Cincinnati seems like, they either win by 5 or lose by 5. They're competitive and all the bit. UCF has beaten Kansas, and BYU's ranked.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised that these new guys have been successful in the Big 12 as they have the first year? I mean, you were here when WVU first moved into the Big 12.
Yeah, they got rosters to compete. I mean, and they can beat anybody on any given night. But consequently, it's the same way, just like us. They can lose to anybody on any given night, and we're sitting here in the middle of the dog days of conference play. It feels like we've beaten up on each other for 6 weeks, but I mean we're only 7 games into an 18-game schedule, and some teams are coming upon their week off in the league, which is, I've argued for years, is critically important in this league, is getting your legs under you and hitting that reset button in the middle of conference play. But to answer your questions, no. I mean, those guys have strong, athletic, skilled rosters that can compete. So night in and night out, they're going to compete, but it's not surprising when you see a lopsided victory or a lopsided loss in any given situation in this league.
You look through the history of this league, February's been the great separator. You get into the season and the depth, and you play all these tough games, and so you really don't know until you get through February who's going to be what, really, in this league, right?
Yeah, and I can't imagine that even the team that wins this league doesn't have at least 5-6 losses. And it's top to bottom. You just don't see it as strong, and it seems like it just continues to get stronger and stronger every year. And how many we got? Top 25 teams in the league. Where we at? 7, 8. I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, you can look at all the best conferences in the country moving in the past. Like, how many times have you seen eight teams in one conference that are ranked?
Back to Jesse, real quick. What'd you think of his game conditioning? Is he the point he could play 30 minutes, and when do you start him again?
No, I mean, game conditioning, you could tell wasn't there. I mean, he's certainly done all that conditioning and stayed on top of all that, but we all know game conditioning is different than treadmill conditioning or whatever it may be. So it'll be a gradual process. It ain't gonna happen overnight. To get him, to be where he's playing the minutes he was playing prior to is not going to happen overnight. So that's, hopefully in the next 2-3 games we're back to where he's 100% in conditioning and he's feeling 100% with his wrist. So
Soon?
It's something that we're looking at on whether it's time to do that yet or not. So I'm on the fence with that one yet, and we'll probably have a lot to do with how things go in practice today.
Question you had earlier about, where you are in the season. I guess the beauty of basketball is you got a tournament. I mean, if you were a college football coach right now, you'd be playing out your year.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got that tournament, you still got an opportunity. Is that the message you have to your guys?
Yeah, I mean, I even had one of my staff members, we were talking about the UConn team back in 2011 and what they did. They were on the wrong side of the bubble. They wouldn't have made the NCAA tournament had they not, rattled 5 straight games off in the Big East Championship and won that thing, and then they went on to win 6 more and go to the national championship. There's story after story after story out there. And I mean, that's one of the greatest ones. There's stories of teams that, subpar teams that get going late in the season, and they really make a run at it. Look at Oregon State not too many years ago, to where they got hot and won the Big 12 or the Pac-12 tournament, go on to go to the Elite Eight. Why can't that be us? That's my message to them. We're finally whole. We're finally whole, and
there's no dominant teams in the country.
No, and so if we have the right mindset moving forward, and we strive for growth every day, why not?
Yeah.
Why not us?
Coach, you talked a lot about the adversity. How important do you think the adversity your team has faced has been for you guys, especially when competing in these tight games and the chemistry on the court?
I think it depends on how you handle it. Like I told him yesterday, every walk of life you're gonna have adversity. It's how you handle it and how you whether you pull your boots back on and go back to work. Whether that's the mentality you got to have. Can you learn from that adversity? Can you grow from that adversity? And how do you handle moving forward? And certainly there's so many adverse moments in my life that shaped who I am. I'm sure it's the same way with you and everybody in this room. We draw from our experiences in life, and if we have the right mindset and the right attitude and the right approach moving forward, you can learn from that and grow. And that's where I am with us and our program.
Do you feel like they have, like your team has
I mean, there's certainly moments they care deeply about winning games and competing each and every night. I felt like coming out of the Oklahoma State loss and after the day off, I looked them all in the eye and I felt like we had some guys hanging their heads, and that the message I put forth was pick your head up, hold your head up high. I think they heard that loud and clear. We have a lot to play for left. And we're excited about where we're at in terms of having every piece to the puzzle. So moving forward, let's make the absolute most of this thing. So that's where we're at.
One more on the Bearcats. What are we going to see offensively and defensively from them?
Defensively, I mean, they get after you. It's another physical team, and you're going to see a heavy dose of man-to-man and in-your-face physicality, and they're not backing down from anybody. And that's kind of their mindset, and they're relentless on the offensive glass. But, I mean, they're pretty balanced from an offensive standpoint. The big fellow, was it Lakin? He didn't play the other night, I think, against Central Florida, but they got a lot of size down low between him and Bang Dango, and Stallings, probably of anybody on that team, is playing as well as anybody across the Big 12 as of recently. So he's building all kinds of confidence in his game, and they got a really good junior college point guard and Day Thomas that they brought in from Texas in the junior college ranks. So they're a very balanced team. Lukosius he's a baller. He makes winning plays and just has a very, very good instinct for the game. So he's got a lot of pieces to work with, and they take the physicality to a higher level than a lot of teams, by all means, and they really rebound that ball like their life depends on it.
So freedom of movement and how the game's called tomorrow will be important.
Yeah, it's important for us each and every game. I continue try to harp on that because we don't have the biggest, strongest guards by any means. So if they're using their size and to their advantage and bumping us off the ball or steering us with one hand and showing the other, and however certain teams use their strategy to prevent your movement. I mean, it's certainly something that comes into play when I'm trying to fight for our guys from an officiating standpoint.
One more on Raekwon. So, I mean, the Oklahoma State game with the Tex. So then you probably expect, okay, well, you got to bounce back now against UCF, and then obviously that's a disappointing thing. So now you get to this game. Do you have any idea how he's going to respond now? I mean, obviously being at home probably makes a little bit of a difference, but you probably thought he was going to respond differently to UCF than the way he did.
Sure. I mean, you mean against Oklahoma State after the UCF game?
Right.
No, certainly it wasn't two of his best performances by any means, and he was frustrated against Central Florida, and he did the right thing walking off the floor, and I told him to hold his head up high and don't make anything more of this than he has to, and we're going to turn the page from here. He did get frustrated against Oklahoma State as well. There's a couple plays, I think one in transition where he lost it twice trying to, he made a good play and ended up turning it over on the other end on a breakaway. And there's one right in front of our bench, so he turned it over, and I got after him a little bit because, he wasn't the first to the floor in that situation. And more than anything, as coaches, if you're not the first to the floor, a lot of times you get hurt. And he ended up coming out of that situation limping, and that was a case in point. The ball's rolling on the floor. You dive on the floor, and you're the first one there. So I was more, upset with him in that regard because he didn't make that effort play, in that situation and almost got himself hurt. So, yeah, he was frustrated, and he sat for quite a bit during that game. But, he got to a point in time where I felt very comfortable putting him right back in there because, he had cooled off and his mindset had changed. So we've had conversations since the game, and everything that I hear from him, he's doing everything and trying to do everything is asked of him, and he's trying to figure out what he can do to help us each and every night, and that's all you can ask for from a coach. Thank you.